Well, good morning. I hope after last week everybody took some time to walk a little slower this week. Um, so we're going to continue this series. We're right in the middle of the series where we're looking at our lives and the way we do things and comparing that to the way Jesus lived. So far, we've been primarily focused on the busyness of our lives. Those moments where we are rushing from one thing to another, trying to be successful, and at the same time doing our best to live honorable and moral and maybe even sacrificial lives as Christ followers. And it's in those moments where we're trying so hard that life really tends to beat us up, especially when nothing seems to go right. You know, we try and try, but nothing changes. Those moments where we throw our hands in the air and we're ready to give up and say, this just isn't working. There has to be a better way. So last week, is this working? Yeah, okay. Last week, we talked about slowing down, walking slowly. Part of the problem for me, at least, is that I feel like I have so much to do so much of the time that I don't allow myself to slow down for the important things in life. I find myself looking behind me at Amy, on the way to the Walmart or whatever, and asking, "Why are you walking so slow?" But we paid a little bit more attention last week to the way that Jesus walked. He was always going somewhere. He always had something to do, but he always walked. He was never in a rush. Not for the sake of going slow, but for the sake of the people that he loved. He took time for the people that approached him and needed him. The next thing on his list never took priority over the person standing right in front of him. Last week's study is kind of a perfect lead into today. So let me get everybody kind of warmed up here. And let's start by I want to ask you to do me a favor. So I want you to do is raise your hand if you're here. Raise your hand if you're here. How many of you remember being in grade school and then having to say here when the teacher called your name in roll call? So we're doing something similar to that. Here's the difference. I already know that you're here. I can see that you're here. But what I don't know is if you're here. You know what I mean? I don't know. In other words, I know you're physically in this building, but what I don't know is, are you mentally present in this moment? So if you're here, raise your hand and say, "I'm here." All right. Okay. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. This is your moment. Okay. Today we're going to think about our moment. This moment. You've decided to use your freedom to gather here with us in this place to worship God today, our Heavenly Father. You've taken this moment as a disciple of Jesus to feed on the bread of life, to experience the living Word of God. The same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is with you in this moment, drawing you closer to God. Therefore, this is a holy moment. So welcome to this holy moment. And I'm excited you're here, but this isn't a holy moment because I am here or even because I'm talking to you or because another specific person is here. It's not even a holy moment because I'm talking to you about God. It's a holy moment because God, His presence is here with you, and you are reaching out to connect with Him. So the unfortunate thing for myself, but probably many of us, if I was to guess, is that we won't be here for long, right? You'll be here physically, but your mind might start to drift. Something's going to catch your attention and pull you away. You'll be thinking about or focusing on something else. I'm here now, but then my phone's going to vibrate, and I know it's a text. I've been waiting on that text. It's probably the text I've been waiting on. There it is. And I can't stand it, so I pull out my phone. But it's not that text. It's a Facebook notification. Well, I'll click it anyway. Oh, look at that cat. All of a sudden, I'm gone. Maybe something reminds you of something you have to do later. For some reason you start thinking about lunch without even realizing it, and you're trying to decide what you're going to eat for lunch. Uh, something maybe has been worrying you for a few weeks, so you can't ignore it for long before it takes your every thought. Maybe something or someone distracts you. You're so focused, and then that ruined it, and now you can't stop thinking about that distraction. Jesus was no stranger to distractions. So let's go back to the scripture we looked at last week, Jesus' first miracle. And if you want to kind of read over this later, you can. It's in John chapter 2. Jesus, his disciples, and his mother were all at this wedding celebration, and in the middle of the party, the wine ran out. And so Mary wanted Jesus to help. And his response was, "That's not our problem. That's not our problem." So they were out of wine. Big deal. Jesus wasn't sent to make sure the parties were fun to the fullest, right? He wasn't sent to do any of that. He was sent to fulfill God's promises, right? He's got a bigger goal in mind. This wasn't his problem. However, we found that didn't stop him. That didn't stop him from helping out. Nearby, there were 6 huge stone jars that were used for ceremonial washing. They probably looked a lot like this. So he had the servants fill them with water. Here's another picture too, if you want to go to the next picture of some that are actually sitting in a room, they unearthed. This is probably a lot like where it would have been sitting and everything. Each of these large stone jars could hold 20 to 30 gallons. And he had the servants fill them up, and then he told them to dip out some of the water and take it to the master of the banquet. So they did, and the master didn't know where it came from, but this is what he said. He said, "A host always serves the best wine first, and then when everyone has had a lot to drink, he brings out the less expensive wine. But you have kept the best until now." Not only did Jesus help them when it wasn't even his problem, but he gave his best. Jesus has a better way. His way is to give the best now. So, talking about our moment now. So, how many cheap wine moments pass us by and cause us to miss out on the best moments? How many of those moments could have been our best moments? Jesus, he lived a better way. So how can we live like Jesus, giving our best moment now? I think that if I ran into Jesus on the street today, and this is just kind of, what's the word, conjecture? I don't know what the word is. But if I just ran into Jesus on the street today, one of the most meaningful things about him to me would probably be the way that he engaged with people. Now, I can't really back that up with anything beyond being my own opinion, but when you read about some of these encounters that he had with people, you can almost kind of see it in their reactions. It was like he didn't just know them, but he really knew them. He wasn't just here, he was here. As if when he looked at them, he wasn't looking past them or locked in his own thought processes or concerned about where he's going. But it was probably as if he peered into their soul and really connected with them. Like he was with them. Like he wasn't just here, but he was here. In every moment, Jesus was fully present, living with undivided attention. In the Gospel of Luke, we can see a great example of this, of Jesus doing life his way. Jesus, he was sent with a mission, right? He's making his way to Jerusalem. He's got all this stuff probably in his mind. He has an important task, prophecies to fulfill, people to save, miracles to perform, and so on. He is far too important, probably, is what I would think. He's far too important. His mission is far too important to be interrupted. As Jesus was getting close to Jericho, a blind beggar began shouting, "Have mercy on me! Jesus, have mercy on me!" And the people were trying to shush him, but that only made him yell louder, "Jesus, have mercy on me!" So what was the first thing that Jesus did when Jesus heard him shouting? When Jesus heard him, he stopped. He stopped, and then he asked the man the man who nobody else had time for, he asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The man wanted to see, so Jesus healed him, and he could see. After that, they continued into Jericho, and this was back to back. As they're walking through, Jesus looks up and sees someone sitting in a tree. And, this story makes me wonder what the crowd that was following Jesus may have thought. For sure, in today's world, if this had happened, people probably would have been thinking something like, hey, Jesus has somewhere to be. Why are we stopping and looking at this guy in the tree? These people here are counting on him. A lot of people are already following him around. Not only that, but, this trip has already been interrupted a few times. We just got through talking to a blind beggar that was yelling at us, or yelling at Jesus, and so on. Especially when Jesus not only stopped, but then calls out this man in the tree by name, Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus? What? I know that name. Why, of all the lousy, no good, good for nothing sinners out there, Zacchaeus, he works for the IRS, and he's skimming off the top on top of all that. But Jesus knows him by name? What, now Jesus is wanting to go eat lunch with him? What in the world? What's going on? Again, Jesus is spending time with everybody else hated, the person no one else had time for. Jesus was fully present, undivided attention. And Zacchaeus, I don't know what his reaction would have been like, but I can just see him just standing in his living room, stuttering, not really, kind of frozen, in shock maybe. I would have been. But he's standing there and he blurts out the commitment to Jesus. He says, I will give half my wealth to the poor, Lord, and if I've cheated people on their taxes, I'll give them back 4 times as much. Quite a commitment. And then Jesus responds to him and says, salvation has come to this home today. These 2 verses give us a great comparison of our way and Jesus' way. And this is kind of a little bit of a different perspective on this, but think about Zacchaeus and his commitment. I will. How many times have we said, I will, Jesus, I will? And then Jesus, his way, he says, today. Today salvation has come. Right now. This moment. Today. Jesus was always present in every moment. How great. How great would that be? I want to be like that. I want to be present like that. If you want to be present like Jesus was present, say, I'm here. You're still here, right? Okay. Not just living for the happy moments, looking for the weekend or whatever, but being fully present in all the moments. Even the annoying ones, even with the annoying people. Even with the sinners and the rough people. The ones everybody hates. There's always going to be those annoying moments. You may even be going through an annoying moment right now. When Amy and I first got married, Michaela was just a kid. And because of that, there was lots of Amy and me time that we really got to, I don't want to say miss out on, but to do a lot of stuff that we would have otherwise. And as much as I love Michaela, I remember thinking, one of these days, Michaela is going to be grown up and move out, and Amy and I will get to go on date nights whenever we want. We're not going to have to smell ramen noodles every night, that kind of thing. And now we finally get to do that. And, we try to go out and eat, as often as we can, like once a week or whatever, and spend time together. And half the time I find myself asking or thinking to myself, man, I sure do miss Michaela. and of course, then Michaela comes home and visits, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. No. But, thinking about that though, how much time, how much of our moments do we spend complaining today about moments that we're just going to miss tomorrow? So maybe you're not complaining though. Maybe you just can't stop thinking about tomorrow or next month or next year. Your brain has the when-then disease, When I get out of school, then I can start a real job. When I get a better paying job, then I can pay all these loans. When I get these loans paid off, then I can think about retirement. When I get married, then I can settle down. When I settle down, then I can find a better house. When I have a better house, then I can go on a better vacation. When I'm not so busy running around all these kids, then whatever. And oftentimes we just end up going through life wishing away the current moment, and that's it. And if you're taking notes, write this down. Don't miss what you have now pursuing what you want later. Maybe you're not distracted looking toward the future, but instead you're dreading it. Instead of when then, you find yourself asking, what if? What if I don't succeed at this? What if I don't do a good job? What if I end up with a bad career? Or, what if the economy crashes? What if I get sick? What if I miss a few payments on the mortgage? What if my marriage just fails? This is standing there saying, hey, whoa, what are you doing? You shouldn't be worried about the future. Don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow is going to bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today, this moment, today. You're here today. You are in this moment. This moment is enough. So why do we worry about the future then? Why are we stuck thinking about the past? Why is it so difficult to just live in this moment, fully present? And, there's probably many, many reasons. But I think most of them probably revolve around some form of a lack of faith. At least in my life, because sometimes it seems impossible to let go of the past. And sometimes the past, something that's happened eats and it nags at me. And at the same time, the future is unknown. What's going to happen? And sometimes the what ifs seem huge. And then, I think about it and I conclude, how in the world am I going to deal with that? Jesus talks a lot about today. There are two things that we must do to be present today, to be here in this moment. So if you're taking notes, write these two things down. The only way that you can be present in the moment is to surrender the past that you can't change and trust God with the future you can't control. So for a long time, the hourglass was used to keep time. And really, the hourglass is a great representation of moments in time, especially in your life. As a side note, the hourglass looks a lot like the infinity symbol, which is God's way of keeping time, so that's interesting. Anyway, think about all the sand in the hourglass. And think about those individual grains of sand being moments in your life. You have no idea how many moments await you up above. Once those moments pass, you can't get them back once they're down below. They've fallen through, they're gone. You only experience those individual moments as they pass through the neck of the hourglass. You can't hit pause on them. You can't freeze that moment in time and space and enjoy it forever. All you can do is experience it as it comes to you. If you're always thinking about the moments above, then you're going to miss the ones that are going to end up at the bottom where you can never get them back. James chapter 4, verse 13. Look here, you who say today or tomorrow we're going to go to a certain town and stay there a year. We will do business there and make a profit. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while and then it's gone. It's passing through moment by moment. We have no idea what the next one's going to be, and we'll never get to experience the last one again. It's here a little while and then it's gone, just like the hourglass. Psalm 118, verse 24 says, "This today is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." This is the moment. Right here is the moment that God has made for you. It's very easy to think about all these other moments. It's super easy to look forward to moments that are on their way, as they're getting closer and closer. It's easy to remember moments that you've already experienced and look back in regret or longing to have them back again. But I can tell you one thing that will never, ever happen with these moments. You will never, ever, ever be happy where you're not. In other words, you can't be happy here if you're not present because you're actually over there. You'll never be happy in this current moment if you're looking for it in the next one coming down the pike or the one that's already passed. You're never going to be able to serve Jesus here if that's not where you're at. You're never going to be able to love people where you're not. You're never going to be able to serve somebody or serve Jesus where you're not. If you're waiting for a moment in the future, you're never going to be fully present in the current one. Don't miss what you have now, pursuing what you want later. It's so easy to get distracted. We live in a world that is most people's job is to distract you. The world craves your attention. People spend lots and lots of money developing commercials that is going to grab your attention and replay itself in your mind over and over again. They develop apps that nag you on your cell phone, constantly alerting you about something new that you need to know about. They design fun and interesting noises that ding, and when you hear them, you can't stop thinking about checking out what that ding meant. And then you look at your phone and you're distracted by another nonsense notification that you just have to click on, and it's just a cat picture. It's so easy to get distracted. So easy to be preoccupied with self, absorbed in my own thoughts and my own desires. Jesus, though, was always thinking of someone else. He was always present with them. Even when he was hanging naked on the cross after being beaten senseless to the point of being hardly recognizable, if there was ever a time to think about yourself, that would have been the one, right? But next to Jesus was another dying man. And Jesus is so good that even in that moment, when he could have thought about himself and the pain that he was going through and the shame, worried about his future or wondering if he did it right in the past, going over it all in his head, instead, he gave the man next to him his undivided attention. And in true Jesus fashion, they had a conversation. And the man proclaimed that they deserved to die for their crimes, but Jesus didn't. And then he asked Jesus to remember him. And this is what Jesus said: I assure you, today, there's that word again, in this moment, today you will be with me in paradise. Not someday, today. Jesus was fully present in the moment. You can't serve Jesus where you're not. You can't love people where you're not. You can't be happy where you're not. That all happens today, in this moment, here. Not here in the building, here, in every moment that God gives you. You have to be fully present in the moment. You can't be a great friend if you're not there. You can't be a great spouse if you're not there. You can't be a great influence if you're not there. Don't miss what you have now pursuing what you want later. Today is the day. God saved the best for now. Now is the moment that God has made for you. He saved his best for now. This moment in your life